Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Speak Now. After a 1 week hiatus, we are back. It's Eli and myself. Eli, how are you doing?
I'm doing all right. Doing all right. I mean, it was a bad week for Detroit. Mostly just Michigan, Michigan sports fans in general. We didn't manage to see a single win this weekend, and any the Red Wings won. So there is that. But there's no wins, and this weekend, well, yesterday actually, there was another. For some reason, this is the new trend in the NBA that I haven't vented out to you yet. But my least favorite thing that has come, it's why the NBA is a dying league in general. Um, these players like making a mockery of announcements now. It started with LeBron James this year, and then Trey Young has managed to do another one yesterday, saying that they have this big decision like LeBron did on ESPN when that was actually cool when he did that. I don't give LeBron a lot of props. Obviously, he's an unbelievable player, but his off-court antics, the decision was cool. But what he did with Hennessy, and now Trey Young has decided with another partnership, is some of the more disgraceful things I've ever seen. These players using social media just to completely just fool all their fans. I think the LeBron one upsets me a little more because he's close to retirement, right? Like, I mean, I think you'd agree. Obviously, you commend his longevity, but you'd say he's going to retire in 2 years, right? Around there.
I mean, it depends. I think it's really his personal preference at this point. Like he's someone that can probably play until he's almost 50. Like he's still in some circles, some people would still say he's top 10. I mean, I think he's undisputedly still top 20 in the league. Like, he's still like an elite player. Not even like giving his age. Like, he's no Vince Carter just like riding the bench, like kind of
Yeah.
playing it out as for like he's still like a very good player. But yeah, I know he kind of got you on that one. We were all talking about it, and you were like, "Oh, he's gonna retire." Then Steve and I are like, "Oh, he's going to the Mavericks. He's got this big announcement." And yeah, it's just a partnership.
Yeah, it's bizarre. I mean, I can't say it like it's unexpected because LeBron, I mean, he has this weird tendency just to do these things to, I don't know. For me, his off-court things are bizarre. But this one to me, the fact that he's so close to retirement and to go to see a Lakers game now anywhere is a bit expensive because people want to see greatness retire. Like they want to see it's the same thing with Kobe, the retirement tour. I can't that was the main one, like Dirk, those were like the two big ones of my time. I'm not sure on if there was one with Jordan. It was on the Wizards, so I'm not for sure on if he announced that. But to me, it's just the fact that I feel like he's got to have that awareness where these people bought these tickets where their price went up and they buy this upsell ticket because they're like, I want to see this historic event. Like for people check marking like sports like checklists on their like you seeing Albert Pujols hit, was it 698?
698,
Something
yeah.
like that. 698. I mean, that for you was like, I have to go see Albert on his last year.
Yeah.
Because it's really cool, but it was also like the 700 landmark. But it's like, imagine like these people that are spending the money, and now those tickets went down 200 some dollars, and you drained like 400 some dollars probably on a LeBron regular season game that has no other like magnitude other than the Lakers trying to make the 9 seed again this year because they stink. So, which yeah, that's another thing. The Lakers suck. But that's beyond the point. I don't get I for me, I think it's LeBron like not even thinking about the magnitude that it could affect his fans in the aspect of like he's 40 some, so people are like, I want to see the king retire.
Yeah.
To me personally, I think it's a little bit, and then Trey Young did it. To me, Trey Young's like, I mean, Trey Young's Trey Young. Like it has no level as LeBron, but the fact that this is now the second time an NBA player's doing it, where they'll make this like cryptic social media post and act like 10-year-old children, and then announcing some like LeBron announcing Hennessy is the lamest thing that he possibly could have done. Like the odds of that were low, and he managed to go below those odds. I don't know. I think it's low, and I just don't think he understands what he did because, I mean, like it's like if you spend the money on that ticket and you don't see Albert Pujols play.
Yeah.
I think, and baseball's a little different because, I mean, there's 162 games, so there is the aspect of, yeah, he might not play because baseball is arguably the most strenuous on the body in terms of the amount you play.
Yeah, I mean, like that's definitely a risk that you run when you purchase tickets to go see stars, like is whether or not they are going to be in the lineup. I remember this was back when LeBron was with the Heat. I remember someone put out an article about how like disappointed they were that he wasn't playing like down the stretch, and like how they took their son to the game and they were so excited for it, and how much of a letdown it was. And it was basically harping on these players for like not playing in certain games and like taking like these off days. And I remember at the time, like not really knowing what I thought about that. I mean, like, oh, that kind of makes sense. But then it's like in retrospect, thinking about it, it's like, how selfish is that? That you're like harping on this guy who's in the middle of like the Heat, like he underachieved in overall, but in the midst of it, they were still like, while the Heat, I don't know if you want to call it a dynasty, you could, like a micro dynasty kind of, or just an elite run. But that they were exciting, and they knew that they were going to be in the mix for the finals every single year. So it made sense for guys like LeBron and D Wade to take games off down the stretch. Like that made sense. I mean, for me with Albert Pujols, yeah, it was that was more of a last minute thing where, but that was still a risk where he might not play, and that was something that was more of a reality earlier in the season when he was not doing good prior to the All Star break, and then he ended up being elite down the stretch, and that was awesome for me as like a fan of him growing up. He's probably my favorite like living sports hero icon, one that I've seen play multiple times. So yeah, that was huge for me, and like to bring out the kid in me. But yeah, I can see how for people that are buying all these tickets for LeBron, like thinking this is his last ride, and then it's just Hennessy. Yeah, how that can be really frustrating. But where I would disagree is I think LeBron knows what he's doing. I don't think it's unawareness. I think it's full awareness because I like there's not going to be that many clicks for just oh LeBron Hennessy partnership, but LeBron does this. All right, now we're talking about it, right? Like now there's a dialogue here where maybe there's not as much discussion if he doesn't do that. I think LeBron's really smart when it comes to business, so I feel like every single move he makes is well calculated. But yeah, man, I mean, so many things to talk about. I mean, definitely talking about like athletes' last ride and seeing them. Like maybe that's a topic for discussion that we should do at some point because I know. I mean, I would like to see LeBron play before he retires. I don't think, even though I'm SoCal area, I don't think I'm going to just because to your point, price of tickets. It's like didn't see Kershaw, had the could have seen him, but it's just such a hike to get up to LA.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think which I'm happy you mentioned LeBron's Miami Heat time because that's a whole different discussion. That's like, in my opinion, one of the more overrated teams of the last 20 years. But we won't get into that because I mean they went 2-2 in the finals, but
Yeah,
um and they lost to the Mavericks. Bad loss. We'll push that to the side for now.
bad loss. Spurs
Um
loss where everyone like harps on the Spurs loss. That's an understandable loss. Like that Spurs team was a good team, man. Like the
they
Tim
were good,
Duncan,
but like
Kawhi, like they were good.
they were good, but then you're like you look at like the Warriors and it's like they lost to one LeBron. Obviously they lost to arguably the best comeback in sports history, the 3-1 comeback. Which that's another thing. If LeBron doesn't have that, where is he? I think just the LeBron discussion would be interesting. We won't get into that. I think my final like thought on the whole like announcement was that I don't mind if he takes rest during a game. He's as old as he is, as much as he has accomplished. Like I'll still put Jordan above him, but as much as he's accomplished, he deserves a game off. And at this age and era of the NBA where it's so fast paced, players need a game or two off from time to time. Like that's I will never harp on that. I don't like I did high school sports and I felt sore after them. I can't imagine the magnitude that these athletes go to. But it's the fact that he did it where he announced before the full 82 game season, where it's like he's announcing for an entire season of people speculating. But there is also the other aspect. He never said what he was announcing. So
Exactly. Yeah.
there is that argument, but it's also a very cryptic announcement to say the decision part two, alluding to the last decision also happened to be a career defining decision. So that's also where like he played what he named it to, which is why it was very clear that it could very well be something related to his playing. So that's kind of where I thought he messed up. But in the end, like you said, he is in the end also a businessman. So
Yep. Yeah, and
it is what it is. I just think it was really corny the fact that it was Hennessy,
oh yeah, it's super
but
corny. I don't disagree with that. But yeah, I mean, he will be a businessman longer than he'll be a basketball player. I think that's something to consider too. Like that is what he will be after after his playing career is done. Whether like he can do other endeavors and do other things, but like ultimately, like his business is going to be what makes him the most money going forward and stuff like that, and has the most impact. Because I know that like there's philanthropy, uh, his philanthropy like on the side, not on the side, it's very prominent, but still like how that fuels. Anyway, I'm rambling now. So, well, LeBron will always have a special place in this show's heart because like I don't know if you remember, but our very first episode, like 2018 or whatever it was, we
it was
talked
just
about it was
decision. Yeah, the
yeah,
Cavs.
yeah.
Yeah, he and we got that wrong. I thought he was staying in Cleveland, and then he snaked his hometown for the second time, like the loyal player he is.
Yeah. So we should definitely bring back a LeBron discussion, and I know Steve will have some interesting takes too, because I know Steve's probably a hardcore like older generation player guy.
He is, yeah,
I was gonna say he's gonna be
very
a
much
Michael
so.
guy, but like I know Steve's also like a Lakers guy, so is he gonna go like the Magic Kareem route? I'd be curious to know his takes.
It's possible. It's very possible. He's big Kareem guy, big
Well,
Kareem.
and a lot of these discussions weigh on what players did in the playoffs and winning championships. Well, speaking of playoffs and championships, we have the baseball playoffs going on. We have the LCS series, Dodgers, Brewers. Dodgers up 2 games to nothing. They play later today as we are recording this on Thursday. This will probably drop on Friday. So we'll know the results of that game once this is dropped. And then we also have Mariners, Blue Jays. Blue Jays making a surprise comeback, maybe Eli in this series after being down 2 games to nothing, having a very commanding win against the Mariners. Man, Vladdy Guerrero Jr. and George Springer have just been epic in the postseason and continue to be so.
Well, it's just a really weird series because I think these two teams operate at a very different level. Um, because they were one of the two teams in the AL that the Blue Jays play, other than you have Vladdy and Springer up top, but they're a very small ball centric lineup in the sense that they will play, they'll sacrifice, they'll do the little things. They don't swing and miss much at all. Their contact is unbelievable. Like they have these glue guys, like yes, was it yesterday they had Andres Jimenez have his first three-hit game in ages. Who he was one guy they expected to perform more of the season. Him and Santander were their two big acquisitions, and baffling enough, they were very limited in how the Blue Jays got the one seed. So it's that that holds true for the fact that the Blue Jays have done really well with their organizational players. Uh, like Lucas and Addison Barger, like those are two glue guys that have excelled for the Jays. But it's hard for me, the Mariners lineup, if their bats are working, which they did in those first two games, then they were invisible in game three. That's the big thing. It's hard for me to decide who I think will win this series because then the Mariners have the other aspect of they have Brian Wu back, who is a really big piece that they didn't have in the ALDS. How much will he be a factor? And is can the Jays can Vladdy keep up his pace? Because you look at the production that Vladdy's had, it's almost like he single-handedly has won them two or three games. So I don't know. I'm really on the fence. I think I'd still lean towards the Mariners because they won both their away games. It's that game three where they're kind of riding on the high of being up 2-0, and George Kirby has looked slightly shaky from time to time this year. Um, Especially there was a couple games near the middle of when he came back from injury this regular season that he really struggled. So I don't know. I think I still lean towards the Mariners just because they went all in this year. I think they still have the slight momentum.
Yeah, see, I'm gonna lay out my dilemma here for this is just how I view baseball, especially baseball playoffs. And it's really not based on any fact, like anything tangible. It's like just feelings based on like years of watching certain teams. Like I'm a big stats guy, I'm a big numbers guy. I love looking at that kind of stuff. But for some reason, when it comes to the baseball playoffs, I have a hard time separating like certain vibes and feelings that I get. Don't mind the jet going by. I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but living next to an airport leads to loud noises. Anyway, uh, there's just, and some of this is just based on like the era of which I grew up watching baseball. So mainly like early mid 2000s, but mainly like 2010s is probably when I paid the most attention to baseball. And so during that time frame, you'd have the Brewers make the playoffs. What felt like a decent amount. Like they were always kind of in the mix. Obviously, being a Cardinals fan, I paid attention to the NL Central a lot. Um, the Brewers were like Prince Fielder. They were just like a team that like felt like they'd be make the playoffs but never do anything outside of that. Like maybe win a series, but they were never like an actual threat uh, to win the World Series. The Blue Jays were kind of like that. Like they're an exciting team. Joey Bats will make the playoffs. Not really actually going to be a threat to go to the World Series. Mariners, obviously, they've just been one of those teams where the postseason has eluded them a lot in like the last 20 years. So it's really cool to see them in here. Um, but like honestly, the Dodgers were kind of that team too, up until like more recent history when they've started like actually winning championships. They were kind of like that team that would just make the playoffs and then kind of crumble. So I recognize that like that can change at like any given moment, and any year. Um, but for some reason, for me, there's like you can almost tell who's going to either make the World Series or win the World Series based on like some aura, some vibe, something that like makes sense. And usually sometimes it's in the World Series where you see that and you're like, oh yeah, this team is definitely going to win um, the World Series. Like there's no coming back from certain things. Like I think of as a Cardinals fan, I think of 2011 Game Six, the freeze, uh, like clutch hits where they come back from like last strike of the game, basically getting ready to lose the World Series to the Rangers. Freeze has the clutch triple, then he has the clutch home run and extras, and it's like you knew going into Game Seven, like there's no way the Cardinals lose that game. At least that's how I viewed it. Um, go back to as recently as last year, Freddie Freeman, his walk off home run. You're like, all right, the Dodgers are going to win this World Series. Like it doesn't matter how early in the series it is. It's just the vibe is there. Or even like something like with like Boston. This is 2013, I believe. I believe that was the year of unfortunately, like tragically, the Boston marathon bombing. The Red Sox make the World Series that year. I remember as a Cardinals fan being like, "There's no way the Red Sox lose this World Series because just of everything that's happened." Even the Cubs in 2016 make the World Series. You're like, they're going to break the curse. Like, especially once they come back. I believe they were down 3 games to 1, correct? If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, they had the big comeback.
Yeah, so once they won those 2 games to even the score, you're like, there's at least for me, I was like, the Cubs are destined to win this World Series, and it sounds weird to say that because I get that the game is as someone who, funnily enough, going into the football realm of things, where you have, I'm a big Steelers fan, I'm a big Mike Tomlin guy. Mike Tomlin really emphasizes not over spiritualizing, over like superstition sports. Like it's just weird. Like for some reason with baseball, I can't separate that superstition, that like mysticism of it. And so I look at the postseason and especially the World Series through this lens, and the way that lens is telling me is Dodgers are going to make the World Series again. They're in their dominant era. They just can't be stopped. It feels like, and I don't know what to make of the ALCS because the Toronto I think is the better team on paper, just in my opinion. But then you have like the Mariners, where honestly I didn't think that the Mariners should have beat the Tigers, and yet they did. So are they the team that can just come in and just upset? Like Toronto's been so dominant at home for the Mariners to go in to the first two games and win those games on the road in a really tough place to play, like the Rogers Center. That to me speaks volumes. Like, is this a team that could beat the Blue Jays? I don't want to say dethrone the Blue Jays because the Blue Jays haven't accomplished anything other than beating the Yankees in the playoffs, which is awesome. But can the Mariners come in, beat the Blue Jays, and then dethrone the Dodgers? I don't know. I'm still looking for that. But then I look at the Blue Jays side of things, and to your point, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has been amazing in this postseason, like unbelievably good. And then George Springer, obviously, in their more recent game, he came alive. Like George Springer is now, I believe, either tied or sole possession of fourth all time in postseason home runs. Like he's been a great postseason player for the Astros and now the Blue Jays. I don't know what to make of this playoffs. In all honesty,
Yeah, I mean, I look at the ALCS and I go back and forth. I mean, I think the Mariners, the fact that they beat the Tigers with their bats virtually invisible. I mean, the Tigers outscored them in their series. The fact that their bats are virtually invisible and they won the series makes me lean towards them. And the fact that they can win a series scoring 19 runs in a 5 game series and they win it still,
in
and
a
they've
5 game
that they
series
came
where they
alive.
see Skubal twice.
Skubal twice, and
Yeah,
Skubal dominated them.
yeah,
Uh, but their
but they still got
pitching
the wins in
kept them
those
in the game.
games. Yeah,
It, which baffling.
yeah.
I could go on an unbelievable tangent about that 15 inning game, but I think that would go a whole 45 minute Zoom call. To be perfectly honest, I mean, being up till 1 a.m. to watch that, being and our time zone was brutal. 5 hour game. But I mean, I look at it and I still go back. I'm like, I think the Dodgers win the World Series. I think I'd even argue they possibly sweep whoever they play, only because I look at their pitching. It's some of the most unbelievable performances I've seen in back to back games. Like you see Blake Snell pitch 8 innings. He's barely done that in his career. You go back to Kevin Cash taking him out in the World Series back when he was on the Rays, which was over the past decade. That's arguably one of the more controversial managerial decisions that you don't want to say it cost the Rays the World Series, but it most definitely took them. It really hurt them where we could have saw the smallest of markets win the World Series. You keep your ace in, which is a crazy. I mean, when you look at people argue should Skubal have stayed in another inning. There's all those things, but then Yamamoto pitches a complete game, 1 run. He gave up his 1 run early in the game, but he pitches 9 innings. It's like I don't see if you have those two, and then you have Roki Sasaki all of a sudden pitching 2 innings on the back end of the bullpen. And then, for all you know, you could see Kershaw's curveball to end the World Series in the ninth inning. I mean, I don't see how you beat them when I don't even have to mention Tyler Glass now at all in that sentence. Like, like in Shohei Ohtani, like you say all these names, and the Dodgers have lost what 1 game in the playoffs with Ohtani having arguably his worst postseason yet. I mean, it's baffling.
Yeah, and like going back to like for me, like the over like mystifying spiritualizing this playoffs, maybe it's just as simple as the Dodgers are just so dominant that they honestly and I wasn't really old enough to truly remember this era, but like the late '90s, early 2000s Yankees is kind of like the comparison that I would give them. Um, and maybe it's just as simple as they're just too dominant. It's Kershaw's last year. Kershaw goes out with the ring, and that's the storyline. And I get that, like, there doesn't have to be a storyline or like this like thing to look for the World Series. I'm just saying, from my point of view, it's like maybe it's just as simple as that. It doesn't have to be the Mariners like winning the AL West for the first time since 2001, and this epic 15 inning game where, yeah, I think Tiger should have left Skubal in for at least another inning. I know when we were texting with Steve in our group chat, and Steve's like, well, he's at 100 pitches, and like, who cares? Like, like I think back to like the epic like postseason like pitching performances. Someone like Madison Bumgarner. That's more recent. Like I can go back to like John Schmaltz versus uh uh Jack Morris, and it's like I can go back to that game and like that epic like pitching duel, but like that's like 20 something years ago. So like that's maybe even 30 years ago at this point. I'm blanking on the year right now, but like that's a whole different era of baseball. Madison Bumgarner, yes, somewhat different era, but like that's more recent history where he like basically single-handedly won the Giants that World Series that year and his whole postseason. Like they didn't care about over pitching him. Steven Strasburg with the Nats, like
I was
you
just
know,
gonna say, but that is, I think Strasburg's an example where if you overwork a guy, you could potentially
yeah,
harm his career because Strasburg is around. He was around the same age as Skubal. I think Bumgarner was probably a little younger, which Bumgarner also. I mean, after that, Bumgarner had probably one or two good years, but then Bumgarner also saw a significant fall off. Where it's like you
yeah,
look at this, but it's like, I mean, if you sell your soul for a World Series, you're remembered for that World Series.
exactly.
But like nobody thinks of Madison Bumgarner like, oh, how about that Diamondbacks run? I mean, we never say that. Or Strasburg, we're like, we talk about that World Series. We don't talk about.
And
uh
honestly, I think both those guys will still get Hall of Fame consideration. Like I get that Skubal hasn't had quite the longevity as their careers did.
oh,
Um,
Scubal's far from it.
yeah, I mean, but I mean, if he goes back to back AL Cy Youngs, and like he's going to start getting into that conversation. Like yeah, I don't know, but I mean with Strasburg, like he's someone that had like injury history and concerns like before that. Like that was just like something that he had dealt with throughout his career. So, and I get that. I don't know. To me, you bring him out. If you bring him out for the seventh and he goes to the seventh, you win that game because you can bring in Vest for 2 innings and then shut him down. And that's essentially what happened because it's the one guy in between that gave up the one run.
Yeah, and I mean, I think you could argue that the wrong decision was made. I think it would have been fine if they took him out after six, if they put the right guy in after, but they bring in the two guys who have arguably the Mariners saw the best in that series, and Holton and Finnegan. Just watching that, those batters, I think realistically saw those pitchers the best in that series. Like the Mariners found the best success seeing those two pitchers because in game four, Holton almost put the game out of reach before the Tigers went in a flurry because he loaded the bases and then Finnegan luckily got them out. So they same two pitchers. So it is kind of weird that Hinch used the two same pitchers in the same kind of area 2 games in a row. When you have a guy in Troy Melton, I think, in my opinion, he was the guy to go to bridge it for Vest for 6 outs because Troy Melton is, and I understand he pitched in game four, but then you send him out in game five anyway, so he wasn't unavailable. So I think you got to go with the hot arm and the guy in Melton who gave up one run the entire series. Like to me, if you're going in the seventh inning, I think you bring in your two swing and miss guys. I don't think you bring in these guys who have gimmick pitches to induce ground balls and fly balls against that Seattle Mariners lineup. That's not going to work. You had to bring in Melton, who has a 98 fastball, who can then fool him with the off speed and show he can easily do it in that series when he pitched 3 games, gave up one run. And then you have Vest, who is their other guy with swing and miss stuff. For me, I do think that's what lost the Tigers the series was the fact that they didn't have swing and miss guys in the bullpen to round up the last games because they lost game two for the same reason.
Yeah.
Two games out of the five that they lost because they don't have bullpen guys who can get swing and miss stuff. Like we saw Bizzardo strike out four guys in a row in extras for the Mariners. Like that was their fifth bullpen guy, and he struck out four in a row.
Yeah, for me too, it's like it felt like Hinch was managing uh with the ALCS in mind. Like he was like almost like, and you can't do that in a winner take all game. You just can't. You have to lay it all out there. And it felt like the Mariners were more willing to do that. And honestly, they still looked fine in the first couple games. Obviously, winning against Toronto, which that's never a guarantee, but. I don't know. For me, I leave Skubal in another inning. Even if you take out Skubal and the game continues the way it did, I would have left Flaherty in for another inning. In all honesty, like I don't
A
understand why
hundred
Flaherty came
percent.
out so quickly. And I get that you're like draining your bullpen and your pitching staff at that point, but it's a winner take all game. If you do not win, your season is over. Who cares if your guys are gassed for game one or in game two of the LCS? At least you made the LCS.
Well, and for a coach that was so willing to use his bats on the bench, to not use one bat off the bench in a 15 inning game is out of this world. I don't see how you keep Parker Meadows in for 15 innings of that game. He didn't save anything defensively in that game. He gave you no reason to stay in that game. Colt Keith gave you no reason to stay in that game. And heck, the only reason Riley Green stayed in that game is because of his regular season success and that he did hit a home run in game four. But you saw that even Riley Green, he got taken out in game one of the wild card. I don't think there was a single guy that Hinch before that game was unwilling to take out because he said everybody plays as a team. And then you go against that by not using Jahmai Jones, who was your best hitter the last month of the season, and keeping these lefties in who can't get any contact. If matchups are gone, like matchups mean nothing if you can't get contact. That's the whole point of running that lefty righty so you can see the ball better. But they can't see the ball against righties either. Parker Meadows was incompetent. The only thing he could lay down was bunts. And then Colt Keith, you rush him back from an injury, and then he's useless. I don't see how you don't bring in Andy Ibanez or Jahmai Jones or I mean even Wencel Perez. I don't know.
Well, yeah, and Juan Perez had like a clutch hit earlier in that series. Like I get that he might not be your preferred bat of the guys that you mentioned, but I don't know, man. I'm someone that puts weight into like what you've done in like the playoffs like matters just not just as much as what you did in the regular season, but I mean, I don't know. There's just certain guys that perform. I don't know. Would you consider the Tigers season a disappointment based on how it all played out, or are you still happy with how this season went? You're like, this is a good step for where this club is going forward.
I mean, I have a hard time. People say it's a disappointment based off where the Tigers were in at the All-Star break. It's hard for me to say two playoff appearances in a row is a disappointment. I'd say the outcome of the series and the way they went out is slightly disappointing because their bats did completely evaporate. But it's also like the team itself is still so limited in its postseason experience. Like, not everybody's going to be Juan Soto in their first playoff experience. Where Juan Soto, I mean, he helped the Nationals to a World Series. And I think they're still young enough. I think the only gray line is the Scooble situation. I think that's my biggest concern is that you may have slightly messed up in the fact that you didn't show any desire to give Scooble a contract extension right away. Now to the point where it's likely he's going to face free agency now. Where I mean, heck, I don't know if they trade him this offseason. I'm not fully convinced he's on the team next year, which is horrible to say. But if you can't guarantee a contract extension, do you want him to leave like Shohei did from the Angels and set your franchise back in the sense that you lost you're a star for nothing because of your inaptness to spend money, which by the way, Pizza Boy has enough money to spend. So I don't know. There's no issue with money. I mean, Detroit is a rich organization in the fact that they have a history where they've been willing to spend. So the fact that they don't do it to a guy who historically the last 2 years is on a stretch where you haven't seen a back-to-back Cy Young in the AL since it was Pedro, right? If I'm not mistaken, it was Pedro in '99 and 2000. If I'm not mistaken on that. Um, so if you have a guy in that stretch, you extend him. I don't care if he falls off like Miggy does. If you have a cornerstone, you extend him because you know what happened with Miggy is that yeah, it failed, but at least you had a couple competitive years, and then you traded. I mean, obviously Dombrowski traded the house, and that's where he screwed up. And I do give Scott Harris credit in that he didn't feel pressure to go for guys like Suarez to give up guys who you see a future with. I give him credit for that, but I also don't give this organization credit for not being, I don't know, not looking a little further in advance in the Scooble situation. So I think that's the only area where I'm disappointed because the future can look very murky very fast without Scooble.
Yeah, no, I get you. I think yeah, overall it's a success to say that you made it to back-to-back division series, when this team last year wasn't even supposed to be there yet. This and I think you saw Kerry Carpenter submit himself as like a legit like clutch post like he like this is a guy if they continue to make postseasons, like he's going to be remembered as an all-time like postseason great. And I think that that's awesome for them to have. But yeah, you do need to extend Scooble, man. I don't know what this team looks like without him. Like that's definitely really concerning. And like going back to the 2010s Tigers, like the comparison there is like, yeah, Mike Ilitch would have 100% extended this guy. Like last year. Like this guy would be on the team. Like, but there was that sense of urgency to win a championship. Obviously, Mike Ilitch now passed away. He was wanting to win one before he passed. Um, and that didn't happen. That's why you had like Dombrowski being willing to like trade guys away because like they were going all in and year out. And unfortunately, they couldn't get it done. And that's not quite the same makeup as this team. Like this is a team that's trying to build more sustained success, get back into relevancy. Still, I think that they've achieved that. And obviously, the goal is to keep that going for years to come. But also, what's different from the 2010s as to now is someone like Scooble back in 2010s, like you're giving him like a 10-year contract at this point, and like that's 100% gonna be a horrible contract. I feel like nowadays, like you could extend someone like Scooble for like a 5-year, uh, 5-year, 150, whatever, 100, like you raise that up obviously, but high average, but it's only for like 5 years. Who cares? You know,
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know what his contract demands actually are, but like I don't. You're not giving out 10-year contracts anymore. Like that doesn't happen unless these guys are like in their early 20s. It's like Juan Soto or even like or someone like Shohei where it's going to be worth it in the long run to for him to be. All right, we're back. Sorry about that. Did not see the timer on the Zoom getting ready to kick us out. Honestly, don't even remember where I was at this point. Um,
Scooble.
Scooble, yeah. Detroit,
So it's dang.
sign him.
Yeah, dang Zoom. They took advantage of COVID and now they're charging for their dang calls. It's
I know.
unbelievable.
Yeah,
They would never do this in the COVID times, but since there's this is a dying app. I don't know if you call it Zoom an app, but it's a dying program.
yeah. Yeah. For all the streamers out there and like people that do this kind of thing, if you have a better way to do this than Zoom, I honestly just have not spent the time to like look in and research. Let us know in the comments because there's got to be other ways. Like people do like where like they have the split screen, they have all the different. We can do better. Our production value can increase. That's definitely an area where we need to. We will grow. We will grow
I
in.
think it brings the charm.
Yeah. Yeah, we're on that grind right now. I'm using my phone flashlight to help with lighting right now. It's blinding my eyes. But yeah, we'll transition to the NFL because now we're starting to get into we're starting to derail.
Yeah,
That
we're
break
close
wasn't the
to it.
best thing. We were on a roll in the first
Too
half.
passionate. Too
Yeah.
passionate. But
Yeah,
I
we got
mean,
the
yeah,
NFL Lions getting a little dominated there by the Chiefs. The Chiefs seem to be back there, Eli.
yeah. I mean, it's the fact I'm looking at week 7 now. I'm like, dang, the season's flying by, which is so sad to see. Uh, yeah. I mean, the Lions, they've had 2 games. It's weird because the Lions have had 2 games where they've looked not fantastic, even though. I take it with such a grain of salt. I'm not even going to lie. For one, the Chiefs, I'd argue, were playing for their season, not quite their season, but like, I mean, it was going 2-4 is a big mountain to climb for a team. Granted, they would have looked like one of the better 2-4 teams you'll see with getting their best wide receiver back. Because Rashee Rice will make an impact on that team. So I think winning that game gives them a lot of cushion in how they don't necessarily, now that they're 3-3, their division, I don't think looks that great anymore at all. I think the AFC West has tremendously fallen off since the start of the year, uh, for multiple factors like the Chargers. The Chargers, their O line is a problem right now. Their running back room looks okay for now. I mean, you can't expect Kamani Vidal to put up 120 yards every week, but it's nice to see that he has the possibility to do so. And then the Raiders stink. And the Broncos, I mean, their offenses for the most part look bad. I don't know. It was big for the Chiefs, and the Lions didn't have a secondary. Like, let's be real. We were sending out Arthur Mullet, Jonathan. I mean, yeah, there is that aspect to look at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'm still up on the Broncos. I think their offense down the stretch will start to put things together. Their defense is just, dude, their defense is so good. It's so good. They're on pace for like 80 over like 80 sacks. They're like on pace to like smash like the NFL like
They have
sack
10
record.
more than the next team. They have 30, and the next closest is
Yeah.
20.
Yeah,
Like,
which,
that's
which is the Steelers, yeah. Which I will say Pittsburgh has been like the first like couple weeks they weren't getting the sacks. The last few weeks they have been getting a lot more sacks. So I do think that we will narrow the margin, but it's I mean Broncos are just I think their defense is legit. I think Bo Nix and their offense will put it together. They might not be an elite offense, but they will be a competent offense. So I see a reality where they hold off the Chiefs and win the division. That's it's not guaranteed. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. And then obviously, and then yeah, the Chargers are just going to be an interesting one. If how can they survive without Hampton for the next few weeks? Uh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of that.
well,
We'll see.
I think the key to that's Lad McConkey for the Chargers,
Yeah,
which they have started to use him I mean, that play that Herbert and McConkey made when they were down by 1 to win that game. Granted, it's against the Dolphins, but I think the Dolphins are a pretty good looking 1-5 team. Like, we don't have to spend much time on them. That I think the Dolphins are granted, I mean, Tua kind of evaporated that by calling out his team and a guy who threw 3 picks, and that already got shut down by Mike McDaniel saying, dude, that's not the time and place, which I agree 100%. But I mean, that saved them in a sense. Now they can stay 4-2 and stay right on par with the Broncos. And that's one of the better plays you'll see where it was. I mean, you saw Hassan Haskins, who didn't play a ton once Kamani Vidal had a really good game, but he saved that play with multiple facets. He made a downfield block and he made a block for Herbert to be able to get that throw up to McConkey. So it's those little things where the Chargers are very sound in the way that they operate. It's just they're in a similar position to the Lions. It's do they just have enough people to keep it going? Because you look at the Lions, their bye week is coming at the best time possible. I mean, week 8 could not come sooner. I Luckily they're also going against the Buccaneers, and we'll get into that. They don't have three of their top 4 wide receivers. I think Mike Evans is online to play. He's lucky that they're playing on Monday. But it's the same thing with the Lions and the Chargers. I think they're in very similar positions. They have the same record, and they're both in divisions where they don't have many games to spare necessarily to be atop the division, especially with two harder schedules. I don't know. It's hard to gauge, especially in the Lions standpoint. It's like the secondary. If they're not if Reed and Arnold aren't back after the bye, I don't know if I see them winning the next two games at
Yeah,
least.
yeah. I mean, I for like the first time in like a number of years, like this, it feels like both conferences are kind of wide open for who's going to be like the top seed, who's going to be like that team that's going to emerge, which is super refreshing because honestly, I have like Bills, Ravens, Chiefs, Eagles fatigue. Like I'm ready for like something else. And like going into the season, I was really hopeful for the Steelers. Obviously, being a Steelers fan, really hopeful that they can do something for their aging vets. I really like to see them win something for them. And then you're kind of, but you're, it's like one of those things where you're like, yeah, but we're in the same division as like the Ravens. Like we can win the division just because like it's divisional play, so we can be competitive with the Ravens, but then we're going to face like the Chiefs or like the Bills and get stomped out of the playoffs. And I don't feel that way this year. Like I feel like all these teams are vulnerable. The Chiefs are the one that does kind of scare me if they actually start to like put it together, which it looks like they are starting to do that. However, they also had a slower start and they might struggle to regain ground. And I do think that there's competent teams in their division that can hopefully slow them down. But even like
Well,
going
and
over to the NFC, it's like, look at the Eagles now. Like,
I think you can say something bad for every contender right now, if you're
yeah,
being completely honest, because the Eagles, it's their offensive inconsistency. The Bills, their secondary is atrocious.
yeah.
And then you look at the Chiefs. Granted, the Chiefs did win that game. The Chiefs' pass rush is not exactly daunting, where that's their kind of
Yeah, and their
their
running
flaw
attack's
right now.
nothing.
No, I
Honestly,
mean,
their running attack's not that great. I get that Mahomes has been doing more this season with his feet, but that's not sustainable for Mahomes. I don't think that's sustainable for Mahomes, at least for his like health going further into the season.
I don't think it's something the Chiefs can rely on. And
No.
it's also the fact of statistically, it's not something that I think you'll see continue just because it's not like he's running designed run plays or
Right,
scrambles.
right.
It's not like they're running like Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, QB powers, like QB options. They're legitimate scrambles where granted it's also it's what Mahomes has done. It's why Mahomes is deemed the best quarterback in the NFL. It's
Yeah,
hard to really take that away from him. Like I don't care what you've seen statistically. He's the
and
best quarterback since Tom Brady. Like
people were
it's
trying to
hard,
take it away, like
and you can't
especially
like
after the Super Bowl.
you
You
can't
can't
like he
anymore. Like
lost one
I
Super
think yeah,
Bowl,
Mahomes has like reestablished himself as the undisputed like top quarterback. Like Josh Allen's Josh Allen. Don't get me wrong, but
but he
yeah,
hasn't looked great the last couple of weeks
yeah,
either. I mean,
exactly. How like they lost to the Falcons, and like not that the Falcons are bad, but like come
I
on, man.
do like the Fal
I don't
I
mind the Falcons.
like the Falcons. I
But
like the Falcons.
look at the Panthers, man. Look at the Panthers like actually starting to maybe put something together. It's a weird season where like we have a few teams that are like dead in the water. Like those teams are screwed. Like the Jets. Like I think an interesting conversation here is does Aaron Glenn is he a one and done like season as a head coach? I would hope not. Like the Jets' instability has kind of
Yeah,
shot them in
yeah,
the
I
foot
don't
so
think
many
you
times.
can.
But
I just don't think Aaron Glenn has his players yet. I think the Jets are a bunch of babies. Like
yeah,
you look at the players, and they're still the players you have from the past regimes. Like the Jets didn't have enough flexibility where they could just get rid of like but they extend Sauce Gardner. I don't like I'm not sold on a guy like that. Great, their defense didn't look bad. The problem is and always will be their offense, apparently. Uh, which to be fair, it's like they didn't really have the ability to get a quarterback this year. So I don't one and done has never been successful. I can't see a scenario where you can deem a coach unless he's completely lost the locker room, which is the argument that he may have.
Well,
That's the one
that's
thing.
my that's where I'm more so coming from because like obviously like Urban Meyer could not come back for another season. You know, he couldn't even make he definitely wasn't even supposed to make it out of that season. Like that was just so detrimental to that culture and that
But
team.
could you argue it was him because he did things that were detrimental to the team that were his actions and
Sure.
not what was on the field
Yeah,
necessarily
yeah.
when
Urban Meyer
Glenn just wants to win.
yeah, Urban Meyer is is an extreme example. Aaron Glenn is and this is where we don't know because we're not in the locker room and um nor do we follow the Jets that closely where it's like, yeah, is it something where the players like are off Aaron Glenn now? I don't know, and I don't know. I would have to like look, but to your point, like, is it just like would ownership look at this as like we just don't have the right guys? We need these guys out, and we need Aaron Glenn's guys to build that culture. And I think that that could be a way that they go because like yeah, the Jets built this team from the outside in, which isn't something that you should be successful to build a team. Like, yeah, you're Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, or like building like these outside and like yeah, you have like uh Quinn Williams and stuff like that on your defensive line, but I don't know. This team needs to like really have a reset. Justin Fields is not the answer at quarterback either. So I mean, the Jets are going to be in a position where they can probably have their pick of the quarterbacks next year if they so choose to move on
Which I
from
mean,
Fields.
there is the discussion where there has been recently one and dones that it has been successful for the team to move on. So I mean, if you really think that is the best path because you had the Patriots fire Gerard Mayo
Yeah,
because they didn't like the direction he was going, and then just a little bit before on another team, a team that has actually made the playoff, like the Patriots, you still need to see them make the playoff, but their culture's completely shifted again. But then you look at the Broncos too; they did the exact same thing. They hired Nathaniel Hackett. I think he lasted 5 or 6 games, and then they axed him, and Sean Payton completely revamps everything. It's like, I mean, if you're the Jets, if you see an opening,
yeah,
but they're just such a horribly ran organization. It's like, it's for me, at least the Broncos and the Patriots had success prior where you can feel like they have groundwork and they know what they're doing. The Jets, I mean, at this point, they might as well bring back Rex Ryan. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
why not? Why
Why
not?
they were successful with Rex Ryan. They made a few championship games with him. You know, like AFC
Bring
championship
Rob,
game.
bring Rob Ryan as the defensive coordinators. Have the Ryan brothers, and we'll see how that goes.
Uh,
I mean, I,
what a
they
vibe.
were spending too much time on the Jets, dude. They're lost. They might
They're
not win a game.
yeah, they're lost. But yeah, I mean, you look at like a team like the Tennessee Titans, like to go on to like some of these other teams, like they should like honestly, and now they should have had Callahan be one and done. Like, what's the point
Because it
of having?
ruins Ward. Like because
Yeah,
you're ruining quarterback progression. That's the thing that bugs me. Is that
yeah,
if you're not for sure, I mean, he showed no reason whatsoever. I don't know why they gave him another year because teams also, it's like there has been areas where it's the first year they gotta overhaul things. So I do understand that in the sense, but I mean, like he didn't show much at all to give him a second year. It's like when you saw like Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell is a good example in the fact that the Lions had a horrible first year, but they were competitive. They were competitive, especially the second half of the year. I mean, they took the Ravens to the final kick. They beat a Cardinals playoff team. They beat the Vikings that year. They showed promise. I can't name you a Titans game outside of the few games they won where they showed any promise.
no, yeah,
I
and
mean, like,
especially when like your rookie quarterback is sounding like the most mature, like passionate, like leader of like the group, and it's like. What like yeah, what are you doing as a head coach, and what are you doing as an organization? Like for me, it's like if you're gonna have a head coach with a rookie quarterback, like you got to give them 2 3 years together before you decide to move on from said head coach and or quarterback. You know, like you're just yeah, you're not giving guys time to develop or anything, and it's like the Eberflus with the Bears. Like you knew that Eberflus was even though they drafted Caleb Williams, you knew that they weren't going to keep Eberflus. Like there was no way that he was making it out of that season. Um, and it's like, and obviously getting someone like a Ben Johnson, it doesn't seem like it's been a detriment to Caleb Williams' development, but Caleb Williams was also like this number one overall, like can't miss quarterback prospect almost. Like he's like the second coming of Patrick Mahomes. So it's not the same for guys like Cam Ward that maybe in another class wouldn't be number one overall, but still has a lot of promise. And whoever the Jets do decide to pick, assuming they pick a quarterback this next year, do like honestly, if you are the Jets like ownership and stuff like that, you have to be confident that Aaron Glenn's your guy for the next few years if you're taking a quarterback. Because if you're just going to fire Glenn after next year, or if they're not doing anything, what's the point? But
Yes, I mean, yeah, I'm happy that
yeah,
like I don't have to deal with that type of organization at the moment. Like, I mean, I was in the exact same boat, being a Lions fan. Like those those early 2010s, like those after Jim Caldwell and Jim Schwartz got fired. I mean, I was in that same boat. It was just the worst.
yeah,
So I'm happy there's some firmness where I can kind of like be with you in the great Steelers reign organization. I can kind of pity the Jets and be like, how horrible of them to do that. But I don't know. At least with the NFL, like you said, I think there's a lot more parity in the sense of the teams that this year seem to be doing well. And also, I think other than the Jets and the Titans, all the other bad teams have at least looked competitive.
yeah,
Uh, like I think the Saints, for how bad people said they were going to be this year, I don't think the Saints outside of one game this year, which was the Bills game. I mean, the Saints haven't looked the worst. You could argue. I mean, that Saints Patriots games. I don't know if you watched that. It was a horribly officiated game, so like it was a little more. Um, it was a little closer than it really should have been, but we don't. That's besides the point. I mean, at least there's a lot of competitiveness in the NFL right now.
yeah, for sure. And I think that that's yeah, that's definitely more fun to watch. In all honesty, like it makes for a more exciting season where it's like, yeah, the season is does feel like it's going really fast, but at the same time, like I don't know who are going to be like the guys, the teams at the end that look like they're actually legit contenders because we've seen we've seen good things from so many teams and we've seen bad things from so many teams that are typically good. You know, you look at the Ravens. They're a good example of this is a team that even if they get Lamar Jackson back, or like, well, obviously they're going to get Lamar Jackson back, but when they get him back, their defense has still been absolutely like dog water. Like, does that are they still a playoff team? Can they put it together down the stretch? My honestly, history and like for me, history says yes. Like, I think that they will like actually get better as the season goes on. But they're what like 1-5 now, something like that. Like
Yeah, that's
that's
the
hard to
thing.
come back from.
I don't know if there's big enough path because I think the AFC, especially with teams like the Texans a little above them, where I think the Texans will start to kind of levitate back to that playoff area. And you already have the Jags and the Colts, who both are over um, doing above expectations at the moment. Like, I think there's too many teams that are going to be in that 10 to 11 win mark. Like,
Yeah,
I don't think there's not going to be a 15 win team this year. There's just not.
no,
I think there's like last year there was two of them. This year there's already a low possibility. I think there's the Buccaneers and the Colts, um, and the Steelers. I think are the three teams with one loss. Like you're not going to get that 15 team first place. It's going to be like a 13 win, and so it's going to be a really tight 1 through 7. Where if you're the Ravens, you have to reel off a 6 game winning streak. I think I just
yeah,
don't see that in a division. They luckily the North is kind of in a down year where I mean the division games don't look daunting, but they also are playing a first place schedule. Like
yeah.
you have to keep that in mind.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, you look at the AFC and you got the Bills, Patriots in the AFC East that look like they could be playoff teams. Uh, you got the Steelers in the North. You got the Colts, Texans, Jaguars in the South. You in the West, you have the Chargers, Broncos, and Chiefs. Like, there's a lot of teams that are vying for playoff spots, and honestly, like, and that's not to say like, again, for the Ravens, like it's going to be an uphill climb. I mean, they will get Lamar Jackson back. They should be more competitive. Um, Eventually, the Bengals will get Joe Burrow back, and not saying like I think the Bengals season's over, but they can be spoilers to teams later on because they could still prove to be a dangerous team. I don't know. It's a really interesting year, and then you go into the NFC side of things, and it just again it feels pretty wide open for certain teams. Like I I'm pretty high been pretty high on the Giants since they put Jackson Dart into the lineup. Him and Scadaboo, man. Like I love the memes where it's like Jackson Dart or like Cam Scadaboo having to like push like Jackson Dart in like the wheel trade in like 50 years for like their like the 50-year anniversary of their Super Bowl or whatever. Yeah, that's those guys are fun to watch. It's a fun year. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it'll be good. And you mentioned the Bengals, and I think it's only right. We both we're pretty mid this year in picks. I will add.
Yeah,
It's been an iffy year. Spreads are tough. Spreads
those
are
are tough.
tough, and I'd have to look at it. We're both around 500. We've kind
I
of
think
we've
we got
dabbled
the
in
same record
trends.
right now.
Do we? Okay, we're
Yeah,
like 2 games above 500, and we've
yeah.
I've admittedly shifted some that I've said on the pod, but it's around 500. I've switched some losers and winners, so I think it balances out. But you mentioned the Bengals. That is our Thursday night game. I think it's only right to get into these picks
Yeah,
because it is also the Steelers.
it is.
The Bengals are at home, if I'm correct, and they are 5.5 point underdogs against the Steelers. And right now it's a 61% picks the Steelers. You didn't ride with your Steelers last week, I believe.
I haven't rode with
Um,
the Steelers the last 2 weeks, actually.
and are you riding with them this week?
So, okay. So, yeah, you say here's where my biggest dilemma. I have two big dilemmas right now. And this is the dilemma I've had the last couple weeks. Um, because honestly, the Ireland game was more so just to, hedge my bets. Like I was like, if we lose this game, at least I can get this pick right. Because I was really unsure of what that team looked like. I think I'm more confident of who the Steelers are as we sit today. I think they've shown a lot more consistency in kind of who they are. The Browns game I thought could be a trap game, so that was one where it's a divisional opponent. I didn't like this where the spread was, so I did pick the Browns, and the Steelers proved me wrong. And then I sit here again, and I'm like, well, shoot, dude, like I would have 100% been on the Steelers prior to the Joe Flacco trade. The Joe Flacco trade kind of scares me. I'm not gonna lie. The Joe Flacco Bengals, like that's a big point spread for a divisional foe for a Bengals team that could put up some points. I mean, their team. I'm seeing them in person against the Lions. Like they put up more points than I thought they should have against the Lions. Obviously, the Lions still cover the spread there, but still. Um, and one of the big trends right now, like with the sports books and stuff like that, and these picks is they've been getting us on like the ones that are like the 60, 70 percenters. Like those are the ones where the sports books have been making a lot of money. So that makes me want to go Bengals. Those things make me want to go Bengals. As it sits right now in our pick'em group, I do have the Steelers. I do pick the Steelers. I think I need to give them that respect. It is a road game. They are going to be without Deshaun Elliott, and they're without a couple guys. So I might switch that. But where it sits right now, I do have the Steelers. I think that they are trending upwards in terms of defensive consistency and offensive production. So I do like the Steelers here.
Yeah, all the points you made are points I took into consideration. It's what went into my pick of I am riding with the Bengals tonight to cover. It is that AFC North divisional game, and we've always talked about how it's especially like the AFC North. There's just those couple divisions that they play tight no matter what the team is like. And the Bengals have Joe Cool. They have Joe Flacco. And I liked what he did against the Packers in the second half. I think he really came into form. I think people will harp on him for his first half. He just got to the team. I think it's something that you always have to take into consideration regarding quarterbacks getting traded. Um, and the Steelers secondary has been a little banged up. You've seen a lot of their guys. You said Deshaun Elliott's out. Guys like Slay and Ramsey have popped on and off the injury report. I don't love that when you have Jamar Chase and T. Higgins opposite. So I am riding with the Bengals, just because 5.5 is a little too big. I'm okay if I'm wrong on this one,
Yeah.
but being at home, I'm not. I don't. The Bengals are close to being dead. I think this is the week where I fully will see if they're dead or not. So I am going with the Bengals. But then another great game. I think this week is one of the better slates we've had recently. Last week was a pretty bad slate. But the Jaguars are hosting the Rams. This is an international game. I believe it's the last of the London games, if I'm not mistaken. But the Jaguars are 2.5 point underdogs to the Rams. The Rams have been practicing in the Orioles Stadium, getting ready for this game. And this is a toughie. It's a around 50-50.
Yeah, yeah, I don't like the Jags being underdogs here. I think that's a little disrespectful for what they've done so far this season, and the fact that the Rams are more than likely going to be without Puka Nacua. So I like the Jaguars here. Jaguars in London too is a big thing. Like they have a lot of experience going overseas. They are not this is not new to them. So yeah, I like what the Jaguars are doing this year, and I know that they haven't been the most consistent in terms of like being like consistently good. But I like them here, especially with the Rams minus Puka Nacua to win this game.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Obviously, no technically home team. The Rams never have a home game anyway,
Yeah.
but I am leaning towards the Rams, even with the uncertainty of Puka, just because Stafford has been playing at a high level for the most part. Last week was a bit of a fluke. And the Jags, Trevor Lawrence, very inconsistent. So I'm sticking with the Rams, but it's a tough one. International games are always a tough one to gauge. And then an interesting one, we have the Bears hosting the Saints. The Bears coming off a very, very impressive win that I didn't expect them to get. They're favored by 5.5 to the Saints, Jonathan.
Yeah, I going back to what we were talking about earlier with these like bad teams being competitive, I like the Saints in this one to cover. So I am picking the Saints on the road here to cover.
Yeah, I went back and forth, like we said, the Saints and how they are not a great team. But I like the Bears' direction. I like how Caleb has integrated Ben Johnson's offense. It is the complicated one, as we know. As a Lions fan, you watch the Lions. So I am going the Bears. I think Luther Burden will have a big game if DJ Moore doesn't play. And then we have a stinker. We're bound to have a stinker of a game. We have the Browns hosting the Dolphins, and the Browns are 2.5 point favorites.
I don't like that. Yeah, give me the Dolphins on this one.
Let's make
Uh,
it easy. It's just
yeah,
Dolphins.
yeah.
And like we both mentioned, I really don't think the Dolphins are that bad. I think they have some pieces. I mean, they're not going to contend at this point because they're 1-5, but I think their offense is competent enough. I've been seeing some HN trade rumors. Stupid, but we don't have to get into that. We'll get into when it's closer to the trade deadline.
This will either
And then
be Dylan Gabriel's last game as a starter or his penultimate last game as a starter. I think if the Browns lose this, I think we're going to see Shadur pretty soon.
I would that would be a very interesting. The NFL would love it. The
Yeah,
NFL would love it.
I think the
Uh,
pressure is just too much. I think yeah, we'll see Shadur.
Yeah, that I like that. I like that a lot. Next, we have our biggest spread so far. We have the Titans hosting the Patriots. The Patriots are riding a high of a 2-game win streak, and the Titans have an interim head coach.
What's the spread on that?
7.5, sorry, 7.5 point favorites are the Patriots.
I'm trying to remember what I picked on our app. I'm pretty sure I still picked the Patriots. Titans just look bad. Like they yeah they got lucky with that one win against Arizona. They got really fortunate. I like the Patriots direction. I think the Patriots are going to be legit contenders for the East this year. I like the Patriots.
Yep, I would completely agree with that. The Patriots look good against the Saints, even though they only won by 5. And the Titans are a train wreck with no Calvin Ridley potentially this week.
Yep.
Next up, the biggest spread of the week, we have the Chiefs hosting the Raiders. Minus 12 and a half are the Chiefs.
Give me the Raiders. I don't think the Raiders win, but I do think the Raiders cover. I think that they will keep this game. I don't know if I want to say close, but that's a big spread. And I don't think I think the Raiders have potential to look better than what they are any given week.
Yep. I also have the Raiders. I don't love Jacoby Myers not practicing. I think that could make them very one-dimensional. Genty and the Chiefs do have a good run-stopping defense, but I also went the Raiders. 12 and a half is too big for me for a Chiefs team. Next, we have one of our more interesting games. We have the Vikings hosting the Eagles. The Eagles are they're 1.5 point favorites. The Vikings quarterback is TBD still.
Yeah, give me the Eagles here. I can't trust the Vikings until their quarterback play is more consistent like that. I just can't.
Yep, I'm in the same boat as you. I think banged up Carson Wentz or a healthy JJ McCarthy leaves them as underdogs still. And next, I think this can be very quick for us just to say the team. The Jets are hosting the Panthers, and the Panthers are minus 1.5. It's the Panthers.
Yeah, it's the Panthers. That was a no-brainer there. The Jets haven't done anything to earn my trust to pick them. So yeah, Panthers 100%.
And next up, the Broncos, riding off an ugly game international, are hosting the Giants, and the Broncos are minus 7.5.
Yeah, that was a wild spread. I was actually really surprised by that. That being said, I'm picking the Broncos. I think that this is the I oh, this is one that I might change, but I'm kind of in that Broncos have like a dominating win. Like this is just a weird week where they just have a dominating win where maybe it doesn't make the most sense that they do. I'm going to pick the Broncos on this one.
Yeah, and I'm going opposite. I think the Giants might ride their high. I think Jackson Dart is going to save Brian Daboll's job game by game in the Scat Pack.
Oh.
Big fan of Scatabo. So we'll see. That I think that's one of the better games this week. That'll be one I'll be watching with no Lions in the main slot. Next up, we have one of the better games as well. Chargers are hosting the Indianapolis Colts. Chargers are minus 1.5, so it's a pick 'em.
I'm picking the Colts here.
And I'm in the same boat. I don't like the Chargers' offensive line woes right now. And a banged up Quentin Johnston makes me worry about the Chargers' offense. Another pick 'em. A lot of pick 'ems this week. If the Cowboys hosting the Commanders, and the Commanders are only 1.5 point favorites.
I picked the Commanders in this one. I think with Jaden Daniels, just another week being back and healthy, and with that offense, I know that Bill's been not the most consistent, but I think he's trending in the upward direction. Maybe not like skyrocket upward, but like steady upward. So I like what that offense is becoming. Yeah, they don't have much of a defense, but I like them to win this game.
Yeah, and luckily the Cowboys don't have a defense either. So
Yeah.
I'm going with the offense. The defense I think can slightly contain the other offense more, which is the Commanders. I think Jaden Daniels takes another step forward. Next up, we have the Cardinals hosting the Green Bay Packers. Packers are minus 6.5.
I don't like that spread, but what's the news on Kyler? I haven't paid attention to that.
Not confirmed or denied yet on
I'm,
what
I'm
if he's playing.
Yeah, I'm picking the Packers. And if Kyler plays, my guess is the spread changes a little bit. But I'm assuming there's no Kyler. I will pick the Packers here.
Yeah, I actually went the Cardinals. I don't think the Packers have ever since week 1. I don't think they have the capability to win a game by a lot. I think they are just a team that wins scrappy games. So I went with the Cardinals. Um, that's a tough one though.
Mhm.
Next up, we have the 49ers who are hosting the Atlanta Falcons, and the Niners are actually minus 1.5.
Give me the Falcons, man. Niners just lost Fred Warner for the year. They already lost Nick Bosa for the year. Like that team's going to be trending downwards here in the next few weeks. Unfortunately, they had that really nice win over the Rams on Thursday night. Uh, Unfortunately, I think that one's going to be for naught. I don't think that they're going to win much for the rest of the year.
Yep, I'm in the same boat. Mac Jones is in line to start again. He looked like the old Mac Jones last week, and the Falcons' offense is starting to really turn on. And that defense is sneaky. It's a
Yeah,
really sneaky defense. Next up, we have the Lions looking to bounce back. They are at home against the Buccaneers, and they are minus 5.5.
I believe I picked the Buccaneers in this one. I think the Lions could still win this. I just don't. I don't like how big that spread is right there. That's too big. I know that the Bucs are gonna be without Ibuka, but I don't think that that makes much of a difference. That offense just finds a way to score. Baker's a serious MVP candidate.
Yep, I just stuck with the Lions because they're my team. So not
Yeah.
no explaining that. I'm going with the Lions. And then to end off our episode, Seahawks are hosting the Houston Texans. The Seahawks are minus 3.5 at home.
Give me the Seahawks. I like what they're doing.
And I am flipping. We're opposite a lot this week. I'm going to Houston Texans. I think they continue their offensive resurgence and they win this.
All right. Well, we'll see who's right. Those are our picks, guys. Let us know what
They're
you think.
different.
Yeah. Let us know in the comments. We will be back again next week with another episode. Until then, speak now or hold your peace.
Peace.